This is Arkansas ASMR, back with another video. I'm going to be speaking a lot quieter, and I feel like I have to get really close because I feel like I have to speak loud in almost every situation. I don't know why. So I was like, let me do more of a whisper. Let me grab it. I have a nice candle. So we got some mood lighting, and I have a book, and it's a historic book. It is going to be I have a history lesson coming, but this is The Printer's Devil. It is by Sam Williams. It is an account, I think, let's see, there's part of Arkansas right here. It's not a book about the main man, Sam Williams, but rather a book report of all the writings of Sam Williams on all of the people he interacted. There is actually very little known about Sam Williams himself. This is an account of stories of people he met in the 1800s when he was alive. So it was published in 1886 in Hempstead County. This is Arkansas. And I believe he started recording in 1807 to citizens of specifically Southwest Arkansas. This is a book I got years ago at a internship. So I don't live where these people are, but I mean, he met so many people across Arkansas. Peters, the cat, has joined us. So it was originally called Memorabilia, and his life's masterpiece. So it looks like, okay, the 8th of March, in the good year of our Lord, 1851, found the writer installed as a printer's devil in the office of Washington Telegraph, of which William H. Eder was publisher, editor, and owner. And these are all real people. Now, this is a 1990s edition. It's a lot newer. So it's into different accounts, stories. Some are very short. Some are very long. It all just depends. So, like, let's see. Like, it's categorized sometimes by the name of the person, or sometimes it's like first stove. So it's someone's recollection of their very first stove, and it's very short. That's a very short one. Here are some ads in 1857 in a newspaper at that time called the Washington Telegraph. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's some really short ones. There's one called The Blind Tiger. Oh, what was the name of a machine? So I've read, not all of it, actually. I really like history books. I read a lot. And specifically, I like reading about places I've been. There's a Baptist church. Baptist is a very big Christian denomination in Arkansas. All right, let's see. Let us get something. The Red River, a lot of steamboats. So steamboats, early steamboats, and a lot of timber in Arkansas, but at this time. So if he started it, let's see, if he started it, so Arkansas did not become a state until 1836. So let us see. All right. So it's pretty, it's this book was published in 1886, so that is kind of how he's speaking here. It's not a book by the man named Sam Williams. All right, so let's see. Most of the material in this book flowed from Sam Williams' memory and when that source needed supplementing, he went directly to the first citizens of Arkansas, many of whom were still living in the 1880s. And if not living, then to those not more than one generation removed from the county's beginning. What little is known about Salem Williams today has been pieced together from sources apart from his writing. We do know that he was born in Kentucky. Oh no, okay, so it wasn't 1807. Oh, the first record of this area in Arkansas was 1807. So this man who wrote the book was born in Kentucky in 1837, and he came to Arkansas in 1838 with his family, setting in the Marlboro area, to which other branches of his family had migrated from Kentucky earlier in the 1830s. In 1844, Sam's family moved to Fulton, where his father, Hardin Williams, operated at separate times the Cross Keys and the Union Taverns. Upon the father's early death, the mother apprenticed Sam, as was custom of the day, to his rider's great-grandfather, William H. Eder. I've heard of that. I actually heard of that man. A lot of history. One of my history classes. I want the cat knocking the camera down. He will do that. And I love him. And you see his whiskers. We don't want you right now, baby. Okay. So these are all true. Okay, baby. Okay, baby. Okay. He did not. Okay. Oh, and then he left to join the Southern cause, is how it's phrased, after many years. So he was an apprentice for the telegraph in Washington, Arkansas, for a dozen years. And his great-grandfather, whose apprentice for, was a native Pennsylvanian. This arrangement lasted until he left to fight the Southern cause, is how he's phrased here. And he was Colonel Williams when he returned. And she worked in Chicago, I guess, for some time, where he really became a writer. And when he returned, he really got... Now, I like this little town. I really got into the history of Washington, Arkansas. The first Jewish family ever recorded in Arkansas resided in this specific town. And I know a lot about the house that they had. I've been all up in it. Honestly. All right, so... Meaning, like, I researched and gave tours, and I just know a lot about that specific family. He may talk about them. I bet you he does. So here is the man who wrote this book, and his daughter, Martha Elizabeth, in Chicago before he returned to Arkansas. So really, I guess not too much is talked about him. So let's read a little story. Okay. See, he kind of writes as in, like, you know, his memories. You know, it's not like we start the story and we end the story. Here is a home that was destroyed in 1931. This is pictured, they believe, early 1900s, before 1910. This is a man's home, William W. Andrews, in Arkansas. But I don't see much about him. Let's see. Yeah, it's like he kind of starts in the middle of this whole thought. Okay. This story is called This Time He Was a Dog. Ooh. Okay, the story above it is not nice. Let's see. Like I said, I read this and I had something picked out and then I lost the page, honestly. Let's see. Oh, this one involves a dog that dies. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not nice. We don't want that. A lot about dogs. And a lot of, like, actual historic records of doctors and people in the Senate, things that... All right, let's go through... Okay, so... merchants. He's like listing off men. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of things that I may understand, but he kind of starts in the middle of a thought is the issue. And even if you start from the beginning, it may actually, it's kind of, you kind of need a backstory. That makes sense. Alright, so this talks about the first Jewish family very briefly. So let me kind of get into that one, because I know a bit about the Block family. So he talks about Fulton. Fulton. The history of Fulton, Arkansas, for a couple of years succeeding the overflowing of 1844 was a somewhat uneventful one. While it did not exactly retrograde, there was little evidence of the advancement in the march of improvement. Along about 1846, however, the sleepy little village woke from her Rip Van Winkle nap. One or two new buildings were erected, and the town received fresh accessions to the population, and a few new business houses were opened. It was about this time Augustus and Henry Block, member of the well-known and pleasantly remembered Block family, opened a general store and did a prosperous business for 3 or 4 years. Made money hand over hand, sold out, took their pile to New Orleans. I know it's New Orleans, sorry. Opened a wholesale grocery store and did a large business. Augustus Block is still living in the Crescent City as of 1886, I guess. Having retired from the active business on a comfortable fortune. Although the oldest, he's the only surviving son of the good old father in Israel, the late Augustus Block. Henry Block died in New Orleans several years ago. Yeah, so it goes on by specific people, because later they come into stories. Let's see. I don't know if Fulton exists anymore. This is a specific town in Arkansas I'm not very familiar with. Most of them I am, even if I have not been there. I really like turning the pages. It smells very old. Okay. Let's see, what is this we got? Three Forks of the Ozan. Oh, it's just rivers in, I guess, Ozan, Arkansas. I've never been there. Let me see. I like how he describes people. The brightest intellectual star that ever flashed athwart the skies of Arkansas was General William T. Haskell. He was undoubtedly the most attractive and brilliant orator of his time. He was peculiar, original, and impassioned, flashing with human lightning and thundering all around the horizon of public affairs. See, I like how he speaks. When he spoke, his diamond-like eyes emitted sparks of electricity, and his hair, which comb and brush failed to make smooth, stood up defiantly, charged with the same subtle fluid. To say that he was, when on his high horse, excited, ardent, heated when speaking, would be taming his speech down to the level of torpidity. He was stormy, furious, there was a thunder in his utterance, and bolts of fire came with this thunder. His face, colored by the rush of blood, gave him the appearance of a frenzied Native American. I'm just using the political correct term there. His manner, actually, he didn't say anything to me. His manner at times indicated that he was about to entertain his auditors with a savage-like dance and a yell. General Haskell has been a representative in Congress from one of the West Tennessee districts, was a brigadier. I've heard brigadier and I've heard brigadier, and I should know it. General in the Mexican War, and was accorded the high honor of making the principal speech nominating Henry Clay for president in the National Whig Convention of 1844. Haven't heard talk of the Whig Party since I was in like college. And he was yet quite a young man when he came to Arkansas 10 years later. He was worshipped by the Tennesseans for the genius of his intellect and the magic of his oratory. And he had so elected could have commanded of them any station within their gift. But his unfortunate convivial habits produced a revulsion of feeling and caused them to turn their backs upon him, and in despair he sought a home in another state, in the hope that the new scenes and associations might enable him to beget better habits. Vain hope! Exclamation point. The demon of intemperance, an evil that unhappily and apparently goes hand in hand with genius and intellect, had so firmed a hold on the ill-starred man that try ever so earnestly, he could not shake it off. The wonderfully gifted man came to Arkansas and located to Camden, which is a town in Arkansas. It's not talked about in this book, really. About 1857, entering into the practice of law. At that time, the building of the proposed Mississippi, Ouachita, and Red River Railroad was being industrially agitated. Old Colonel John Dockery had for some time been hangering the people and soliciting stock subscriptions along the contemplated route, but with indifferent success. With a view of giving the enterprise a fresh boom and inducing the people to aid in its material way, the silvery tongue of Haskell was brought into the acquisition. A list of appointments was made for him, and the great fame of the orator never failed a splendid audience. Haskell spoke in an old courthouse. After he had been speaking a few moments, he began to warm to his subject. He doffed his coat, a blue broadcloth of claw hammer cut with brass buttons. In a little while he laid aside his vest. Next, after the lapse of a few moments, the necktie and collar followed the coat and vest. Finally, he rolled up his sleeves to his elbows, because it was very, very warm. He walked to and fro on the platform, swinging his arms as if he intended to leap into the midst of the audience. But instead of doing what he did, he jumped with a bound into the middle of his subject, figuratively, and rattled away as though he had been working by an invisible steam engine. His hearers looked up at him with amazement and admiration. They were delighted with the rousing elegance, felicitous. I know it's felicitous. Quotation, charming dictation, and magnetic enunciation of the orator. Amused and moved by his dazzling show of intellectual fireworks, his rockets of rhetoric, as they ascended with a whiz and exploded in bright colors, I have never heard anyone describe how they speak in such a, it is quite the way, isn't it? For 2 hours, he kept his audience enraptured by the delightful charm of his eloquence on such a dry, prosy, and uninteresting theme, which was internal improvement in the public administration field. Interesting. I really like how he describes how he speaks. I don't know, it's very, I wish someone would talk about me in such a way. Maybe not, I'm not a public speaker in any way. It sounds like a big source of entertainment. Honestly, if people were that enthralled in political discussion. Yeah, so it goes on, it's just about him meeting different men. Different men, different women. Oh, it is getting dark in here. I may not be able to read anymore. Wow. Okay, so this is 1885. Does this not look like a Western movie? This is Saratoga? Is there a Saratoga, Arkansas? I don't think so. It's not very clear in the story. Neck. I don't know this county. It's a thriving village. Does that not look like a cowboy village? See some men sitting on 1885. This is like cowboy times, you know, Clint Eastwood movies. You know, honestly, I like looking at the pictures. I'm having trouble reading. It's getting very hard to see. Going to be honest with you. I cannot read in the dark. I did not expect it to get this dark this quick, so I apologize. Sorry. Oh, look at that top hat. I don't even know who this guy is. Robert Brunson and John Johnson. What a great name. John Johnson. I mean, actually, there's probably John Johnsons now. I actually knew someone with the first name and last name was the same thing. And you just said it twice. Yeah, I cannot read this very well. So I apologize. I've been trying to upload videos all weekend and I'm still at like 10 hours until, you know, and that was the first video. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just do something. The Rock Gazette, that was the early newspaper. Ooh, renting a boarding house. Let me just end it with this. So here's an advertisement in an 1849 newspaper, and it's a private boarding house. The undersigned having located himself in the town of Fulton in the house formerly owned by Cheatham, near the male and female cemetery, respectfully informs his neighbors and friends at a distance wishing to send their children to school that he will board them at the following rates, to wit, children under 10 years of age, he'll charge $6.50 per month for rent. Over 10 and under 16 is $7.50. Over 16 years of age or any adult, $9 for rent. I'm going there. Well, there's just an old newspaper. Have you guys ever gone through microfilm to like look at old newspapers? I did that in the undergrad a lot. I don't miss that part. And here is just some old furniture. At that time, we have an apothecary, we have a high chair, and we have a ballot box. I could go on about 1800s and Victorian era. I know quite a bit. It's something that I feel like I keep up on. I just went to a museum the other day. Yesterday. I went to a museum yesterday. And somebody thought a piano was a table because it was a very disguised, it's like a coffin piano. And so I ended up kind of giving like a little history lesson on that room. And I was like, I'm just a guest. I just noticed it and I've seen it when I did tours in a different state. So, well, I hope you enjoyed. This has been a while, like, for 23 minutes. Sorry. Maybe it was longer than I planned, and it was very hard to read. So, here's my candle. They look creepy. I have animals behind me. You cannot see anything. Wow, it is dark. And out in front of me is not this dark. It's really still nice out. The sky is pink.